Hello everybody. Just going to get started here. Just waiting for the live stream to kick in. Seeing if we're live streaming and all that good stuff. But yeah. Hey everybody. So how's it going? So today we're talking about what it would be, basically spiritual practices to manifest. So how do we manifest with spiritual practices? And there's a lot of spiritual practices out there. Not all of them are intended to manifest. So we've got to be really clear about that. So we've got to kind of determine the ones that are actually geared towards helping us to manifest things, and which ones are not geared towards that. So we've got to be pretty clear on that. So let's see here. I'm just trying to see my stream and everything that's going on with that. We'll wait a minute for people to join. Because I sent out some notifications to some people, and so yeah. We'll talk about what I really just wanted to jump on here and say is that there's practices that are geared towards manifestation and making things happen in the real world. Like there's practices that will help you to do that. But then there's also practices that, like emptiness meditation, where it'll just, it's not geared to do that. So, so there's like this kind of, I don't know, it's, there's basically, I talked about this yesterday, where there's two schools of thoughts on how manifestation works, on how to go about doing spirituality. And so, anyway, so the two basic things are that there's one path, which is the right-hand path. The right-hand path wants to go from the material world and go up to the spiritual world. It wants to leave behind everything material and leave behind the humanity and go towards, God, whatever that means for you. So, it's, so that path, if you follow that path, you will not manifest. There's no manifestation in that, because they're not trying to manifest anything. They are trying to get out of this material plane and go towards the spiritual plane. So, they're trying to achieve enlightenment, moksha, spiritual liberation, things like that. So, but me, I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm not whatsoever. I don't really care about spirituality. In all honesty, like, some people just do spiritual practices just to do spiritual practices, and that's fine. That's cool. But me, I'm trying to do spiritual practices so that I can use them in order to manifest things, to manifest the life that I want, It's just, kind of, it's just one of those things. So, I mean, there's different approaches to spirituality, and spirituality can be used for whatever you want to use it for, pretty much. I mean, the aim of the Taoists, in Taoist mysticism, was to basically bring your body to such a high level of high vibrational level that it basically phases out of existence when you go into meditation. You'll be meditating on bringing your energy up, and basically you'll phase out of existence. You'll become what they call a perfected immortal. So yeah, give me a second, guys. I'm gonna let my dogs out. So just a sec. Alright, so we have the what's called the Perfected Immortals, which is basically being a perfected immortal is basically like, well, I told you guys how that works. You would basically bring the vibrational energy of your body to such a high state where your atoms and molecules are vibrating such at a high frequency that it just that you can't physically exist anymore. So if you were to achieve the status of a perfected immortal, you would cease to exist. You would, your atoms would be vibrating so high that they would just, poof, they would transcend into the next state of being as an energetic being. So, it's been said that in Taoism, the what they're trying to do is to bring the energies of the heavens, bring the spiritual energies down, and by manifesting those, then they would become God. If you can ground divine energy, then you will match with the divine at a physical level, and so that means you will become divine. You'll become an ascended master, a perfected immortal, stuff like that. And so this, that takes years to do. But so I guess it's one thing is the right hand path is all about denying the body, about getting out of the body, about disconnecting with the body. It's very Ketu. Disconnecting with the body, this illusion, this world is an illusion, so we have to, it's not real, so we have to disconnect with it. We have to deny it. We have to deny our physical wants, our physical needs, our physical desires, and things like that. That's what the right hand path is doing. That's what the monks are doing, the Shaolin monks and the monks of different places. They're basically they're basically going into meditation in order to disconnect with their body and be a spirit in that other world. And so that's how they achieve their liberation, is by denying the physical world and living just a spiritual life. But what the Taoists wanted to do, the whole motive of the Taoists, or at least in this one sect that my teacher is trained in, is basically to not deny the body, the physical aspect of ourselves. It's to bring the physical aspect of ourselves to the divine. So to basically or bring, to basically ground in the higher energy. So to take in the energy of the divine, the chi, the life force energy, the the higher energies, and basically to take that in and to ground it into the body, so that way we can have this higher energy that we ground into us, so that way we can, it empowers us to be more successful and things like that. So anyway, but then there's also, like, in the Norse, there's like runes. So for example, there's there's spiritual practices based on the runes. There's what they call Galder. Galder is basically a chanting of the runes. And it's kind of like mantra, how they repeat them over and over, and get into this meditative state where they're infusing their body with the runes. And so that's what mantra does too. When you're repeating a mantra, you can feel the vibration in your body, in your lungs, in your body, in your throat, in your mask area. You can feel that vibration. And so what that's doing is that's basically putting that vibration of the mantra or of the rune into you, and it's grounding the energy of that into you, into your physical body, so that way you can basically have the experience of whatever you're trying to do. Basically, there's mantras and there's runes to do a bunch of things. For example, the rune Uruj. The rune Uruj is basically let me see here, guys. I'm not sure what's going on with my stream here. I'm not entirely sure, so just give me a minute. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it's working now, I guess. I don't know. If you guys have any, if you guys are having issues, just let me know. But yeah, so the rune Uruj, for example, that's meant to give you physical health. It's a rune that is based on the runes are kind of tough to explain for me. I'm very familiar with the Vedic culture, and I know about mantras, and I know about their spiritual practices and things. I don't know so much about the Norse beliefs and things like that, and spiritual practices and things. I know my teacher, I learned a lot from my teacher, but yeah, basically, if I had to describe what the runes are, they are basically seed sounds. So they're seed sounds. So, but they are, in the Vedic culture, they have a bunch of seed sounds. They have at least like 200, I think, or something like that. They have 4 seed sounds for every nakshatra, and there's 27 nakshatras. So, and then they have the, bija seed sounds. So basically, it's I don't know. It's a lot of seed sounds and stuff like that. So, but basically, how I think about the runes is they are what 24 base seed sounds, because we have 3 sets of 8, so there's 24. Anyway, so it's like those come from a more primitive culture. So the Norse were basically it's kind of hard to describe, but they were a very primitive culture. It's the history is really long to get into, but basically they are one of the most primitive cultures in history, because they were basically landlocked. They were basically kept in a certain area, and so their culture kind of grew in that isolated area. And then when other places have been developing and developing civilizations and things like that, these Germanic tribes would basically just stay as tribes. They would stay as primitive tribes, and so then other cultures like the Romans, like Tacitus, would go in there, and he would write books about everything that, like the whole Germanic culture, and how how primitive it was compared to the rest of the world, and that's because they were basically isolated from the rest of the world for so long. Anyway, so we have these basically these primitive seed sounds that represent the energies of the universe. So the Germanics were very good at preserving these, and they were good at teaching their children. Like, it was like everything, all the seed sounds and stuff that were taught to the future generations were basically put into a story form. So, for example, like my teacher describes it as like they would first introduce their children to the rune Fehu, and then because everybody needs resources to live. That's just a basic component of life, is having resources, having Fehu. And then he goes on to say that we, as the kids would grow older, they would be introduced to Uruj, the power to basically hunt and to take down the animals that they needed, and it's like physical help vitality, stamina, endurance, all that stuff. And then we have Thurisaj, which is basically boundaries. So we have boundaries. So, like being an individual, individuating from your parents and becoming your own person, and really respecting your own boundaries and the boundaries of others. And so there we have boundaries. And then we have Ansuj, basically we have connection to the divine, speaking things into existence. This is Ansuj. It's called Godmouth. It's basically, like speaking things into existence and stuff. So anyway, we can go around the whole rune wheel, but basically this is this is what this is. It's practical tools to be used. You can use them for whatever you want. And so it's a shaman's job, a shaman's duty to basically, someone would come to them and tell them, hey, I'm having this problem. And then it would be the shaman's job to say, okay, here's what we can do about that, give them, some tools that they can use, some runes that they can chant, some mantra that they can do, some energy work practices that they could do, things like that. So it's just, very, it's very results oriented. There's, personally, I don't understand the idea of meditating just to meditate, or doing spiritual practices just to do spiritual practices. I mean, for me, there has to be a point. There has to be something that I'm getting out of it. There has to be some aim, some goal that I'm going towards, that I'm reaching towards, and so, if there's not that, then it just kind of seems pointless to me. It just seems it's like, why am I doing this if there's no practical purpose, no reward, no nothing. So, it's just one of those things where and I mean, people are going to be divided on this, guys. That's fine. Like, some people, what they're trying to do is they're trying to ascend. They're trying to go towards moksha, towards liberation, towards, ascension, whatever. They're trying to basically become one with the universe and dissolve their ego and stuff like that. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, there's nothing wrong with that at all. However, then there's people who, like me, my Vedic birth chart says that my Vedic chart says that I've already achieved some level of, enlightenment, or, ascension, or whatever. And so my job now is to come down from the mountaintop and give, the wisdom to people. Give wisdom to people. So, and that's what I'm doing. So, I mean, I personally don't see myself as any more or less enlightened than anyone else, and I've never claimed to be enlightened, and I never will claim to be enlightened. And enlightenment is not the goal for me. I couldn't care less about enlightenment. Really. The goal for me is fulfilling all my desires. Fulfilling everything that I want to do here. Because I've denied myself, for so long. I've denied my needs. I've denied my desires and my wants and needs in life, and I'm not doing it anymore. I refuse to deny myself anymore. I'm going to, basically my point in life is to give myself everything that I want, everything that I need, everything that I desire, everything that I wish to have, and give myself the life that I want, that I deserve, that I really desire. And so, whether that includes spirituality or not, I don't care. It's just one of those things where I don't really care about enlightenment. I don't care about ascension, being a good person, being spiritual. Don't care. No. Because it's all meaningless, basically. I mean, so, it's meaningless to me. So when I'm saying that it's meaningless, I'm saying that I've already been there, I've already done that. It's meaningless to me. So when I say it's meaningless, guys, some people are on the path to enlightenment. Some people are on that right-hand path to, moksha and liberation and all that. And that's great for them. I have nothing against them. Absolutely not. If that's what makes you happy, absolutely, by all means, go ahead and pursue that. You have my blessing to, pursue that, if that makes you happy. However, I'm uncomfortable even saying this, but it's true. In my Vedic chart, I've already been there. I've already achieved some level of mastery, some level of ascension, and so, and so, like, it's kind of like I've already experienced that, so I want to now experience some other things in my life. So, but basically, there's two parts to Kundalini awakening. One part is, and this is what my teacher teaches, one part is getting that Kundalini to rise up the spine and go to your, go out the crown chakra and light that up, trying to get it from the base of the spine to the top of the head. And that's one half. That's one half of the journey that Kundalini needs to make to become, ascended, to become enlightened, traveling up the spine, to basically light up all the chakras, to become ascended, become enlightened, become, whatever. So, yeah, to do that. So, and then we have the second half of Kundalini Yoga, which is basically to take that energy that we've gotten from the top of our head. We've ascended, we've already mastered a lot in life. We've mastered a bunch, so the point of the second half of Kundalini Yoga is to take all that energy and to, bring it right back down to the root. So it's, and basically what we're doing is we're taking the energy from the crown chakra and we're integrating it with the root. So that way, it brings enlightenment on all levels. It brings, that to all levels. So, it's like the ascension of all, like of everyone, of everything. So, because our bodies are made of several parts, several, in animism, in shamanism, we would say that our body is made of several entities. We have the three selves, the soul, the higher self, the lower self. We have the 7 chakras, we have the 5 organs, we have, all kinds of stuff. So, anyway, so it's kind of, so basically, the right hand path basically brings the energy up, they want to ascend, to get out of the world. And then the left hand path wants to bring that divine energy and ground it into earthly existence and to create like a utopian future for humanity based on that divine energy. And so, achieving heaven on earth kind of thing. It's I don't know, it's interesting, guys. So I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background, but anyway, whatever. But anyway, yeah, so anyway, guys, I don't know what else to say. So basically that's the difference. So to manifest with spiritual practices, basically what you would do is you would go get a mantra from me. You would go get a mantra and a ritual, and you would basically do that every day. And it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to live from your soul, if you're trying to accomplish your dharma in this life, then you would go ahead and do, you would do something with your dharma devata. If you're trying to achieve, financial security and financial success, prosperity, fame, and all that good stuff, then you would use either your yoga karka or your palana devata. So, and everyone has a palana devata, so I mean that, that works. So and then let's see. So we have the palana devata, we have the and then we have the Ishta Devata. So, any kind of ritual that you're looking to do, any kind of mantra, any kind of spiritual practice that you're looking to do, I can help you with that. You just book a reading, book a consultation, and I'll help you. So anyway, let's see here. So, trying to think what else I could talk about. So what's the point of doing the Qigong every day? So if you don't know already, I have these 2 courses right here. the Celestial Qigong and the Self-Transformation Challenge. And basically those two are designed to cultivate energy within your body, so that way you can use it to, basically how it works is we use that energy to create and to project our intentions out onto the world. So we cultivate it, we cultivate chi, we then move it to shi, which is the heart center. So chi is the energy of the navel center. This is where your chi is stored. And then we move that, we cultivate that into shi by doing the lightning qigong, the celestial qigong, the higher level practices. And then we transform the shi energy into yi, which is yi is intention. So the shi energy is basically the energy of the heart mind. It's the energy of the pericardium meridian. If you guys aren't familiar, your pericardium goes from your the side of your nipple to down your arm, and it goes down to the middle finger. So this is why when people flip people off, they're trying to protect themselves. And it's also the finger of Saturn. And so yeah, you would basically anytime you see me doing something with this Qigong practices, it's basically lighting up the pericardium meridian. So yeah. And then the higher level practices actually transform that chi, so the chi gets transformed into shi, and then the shi, it gets transformed into yi. And so basically throughout the process of transforming our chi to shi to yi, we basically are transforming our energy into our intention. So the intention gets blasted out of our third eye and gets projected onto the world. And so the universe has no choice but to respond to that. So it's a very powerful method, because what's basically blocking you from achieving everything that you want in life is your lower self. Basically, your lower self has to be in alignment with your soul, and your soul has to be in alignment with your higher self, basically. So your psychological programming needs to align with your spirit, and that's to do that. That's a hard task, but this is what the practices are for, to basically align those two. And then once those two are aligned, then the intention is easier to shoot out of your third eye and project onto the world, which is this that's the shi, or the chi to shi to yi path. So that's how we use spiritual practices to manifest things in the world. We can use so something that I do personally is I will combine my my Qigong practices with a mantra and with a ritual to basically this is live. Hi Positive Hopeful, how's it going? This is live. So basically I would use a mantra and a ritual, combine that with Qigong, and what that does is that not only amplifies the energy of the that not only amplifies the energy of the mantra and the ritual, but it also it gets it to act quicker. It moves faster. So basically, the mantra and ritual that you're doing, if you combine that with Qigong, that'll it's like a 100 times amplification of the power. So it's pretty cool. Do we have any questions? I see we have one person on, so let's see if we have any questions. Let's see. Do you buy any books from occult publishers such as Scarlet Imprint or Theon Publishing? Do I buy any books from occult publishers? I have bought books from occult publishers. In the past, I used Gallery of Magic. You know, if you look up Gallery of Magic, I believe galleryofmagic.com or something like that. They have a ton of books that they use, you know, but I mean, honestly, and this is something that I wanted to talk about to you guys, is the difference between Western magic and you know, Vedic magic is, you know, they're two different systems, so it's, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's interesting. So, but yeah, I do have a bunch of books by the Gallery of Magic, and you know, they do work. You know, I can say that they do work, but it's just, you know, I have had a lot of luck in Western magic before. However, you know, it's not been the most practical of magic for me. It's you know, what I would say is that Western magic uses Christianity as like a blueprint. So they use like the keys of Solomon. They use you know, things like that. They use basically a magical system that was developed alongside Christianity. And that's okay, you know, nothing wrong with that. However, on the other hand, we have, you know, we have, you know, shamanism. Shamans have been doing magic since the dawn of humanity, and so when I do my, you know, Vedic mantras and rituals and rune chanting, you know, Galder, it's a different system. It's a different thing altogether, because, you know, Western magic uses Christianity as a you know, kind of the blueprint, or the the blueprint of doing everything that they do. They work with, you know, they work with angels, they work with demons, they work with you know, spirits, like goetic spirits and whatever. So yeah, they use all that stuff. So but in the kind of in the more shamanic tradition, or in the you know, the spirituality that I practice, I use, you know, pure energy. So this is kind of what it plays into, is the Qigong courses. You know, that's a great way to do manifestation. is you'll be, you combine the Qigong and the Kundalini yoga. Those are all energetic practices to stimulate energy within you. And so when you have that energy going and buzzing and, you're feeling really good and really blissed out on the energy, then you implement your mantra, and then when you're implementing your mantra, when you're doing your mantra, then you would, actively think about your intention, what you want to happen, and if you do that every single day, then something's bound to happen. It's gotta happen. There's no choice but to happen, right? So, I mean, that's what my thought is. So, I've proven it to myself. I've proven that to myself. So, yeah. Let's see, guys. We have some comments here, so let me just check those out. Let me see here. Positive Hopeful has a comment here. Under the category of Vedic magic, what is your opinion on Tantric practices, such as those described in Robert? I'm not familiar with those. I have no idea what Robert Schwabada's. Anyway, yeah. Hindu's left-hand path, yeah. So, I mean, I'm not familiar with that exact book, but let's see here. Yeah, so Tantric, everybody thinks of, at least I should say, I know where you're coming from, Positive Hopeful, but in the West we think of Tantric and we think of Tantric sex, but really what it is it's basically a combination of, using spiritual practices in order to do magic, in order to have that effect. And so, so it does, it does, there's, so basically, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing in my Vedic astrology readings. I'm basically, which you've had one already, so you've seen me do this. I basically look at your birth chart and I see where, where your planets are placed, and I come up with like mantras and rituals for, that'll work best for you, and that's, coming from using the Vedic science, Vedic astrology science to do that, to see which energies are working for you and what energies want to help you and things like that. So yeah, I do tantric stuff. I am a tantric practitioner, I guess you would say. Let's see here. So my opinion on tantric practices is, yeah, they're great. Do them. It's great to have a first-hand experience, when doing these things. So, so having that first-hand experience, that's like your best teacher, because if you do something and it doesn't work, then then at least you know what doesn't work for you. If you do something and it does work, then that's awesome. Then you just know what to continue to do. So I would say, if you're ever really interested in any practice, then I would say go ahead and do that. Go ahead and try it. It's worth it to give it a shot. Yeah, even this stuff, people ask me, what can I get from this stuff all the time? My 2 energy work courses, they ask me, what can I gain from that? What can I, how can I, how can I benefit from that? And I'm like, I'll tell you how I benefited, but I mean that everybody's different, so you just really gotta, do it yourself and find out. So, same with the mantras. Everybody wants me to tell them what their experience of the mantras will be, and it's like I can only tell you what I've personally experienced. So you gotta try it out for yourself. Let's see. Warren the Warrior asks, do you believe in Jesus? Do I believe in Jesus? Wow. I believe that... I want to be careful with my words here. I believe that Jesus is a fictional creation of the original people who kind of wrote the scriptures and whatever. So, in other words, I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe that he was an actual dude who walked around on Earth and whatever. No, that's a myth. And if you actually look at the go and do your research, you'll find that his existence it's an impossibility, because there's, I mean, they called him, they said that he came from a town called Nazareth, okay? But if you actually go and look at the historical data of when that town was first settled, when that first town first came into being, you'll find that it actually existed after the time that they're saying that Jesus was alive. So after the time that he was born. So, they're saying that he was born in Nazareth and whatever. But that's not the case, because how could he be born in a town that didn't yet exist? There you go. That's your there's your proof of him never existing. So yeah. No, I believe that Jesus was a myth that was basically used to subjugate subjugate pretty much everybody. The Jews, the Romans, everybody who was in that time period that was in those civilizations. Anyway, this channel has nothing to do with Jesus, so why you would ask that, I don't know, but thank you for your question though. But yeah, we don't do Jesus over here. Sorry. So yeah, any more questions? Any more things like that? Positive Hopeful has a question. So let's see. Let's see here. Let me just bring this over so I can see it. Hold on just a second. I'm having issues with my... Okay, there we go. Let's see. Correct, he was created to enslave humanity. Yep. He said we should pay our taxes and conform to society's norms. Yeah. Promoted conformism and slavish attitudes like poverty and being nice to those who hate you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. You know, yeah, it was a major guilt mechanism, you know, to basically enslave those who didn't know any better. You know, this is where, you know, Christianity basically, you know, it, it was a control mechanism, guys. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, I still have this shit ingrained in my brain, you know, because I was raised Catholic. You know, I'm still ingrained with, you know, the guilt, the, you know, the shame, and all this BS. Uh, but basically, Christianity tells us that um, we were born into sin. We were born into we just the fact that we were born is a bad thing. You know, that's not the case at all. We're all human. So, you know, embracing our humanity, embracing our, you know, our uniqueness, our humanity, our individuality, that's what we need to do. And so, yeah, I totally reject Christianity. I totally reject any and all means of like control and authoritarianism and things like that. You know, this is basically because they needed slaves. They needed people who were mentally controlled. You know, they wiped out the Germanic population because they either, you know, wiped them out or they enslaved them. And so what would happen is they would go around to these different, you know, tribes and villages and whatever, and they would say, okay, you have a choice. You can either accept Jesus or die. And so people would say, you know, screw that, screw you, and they would kill them. Or they would basically, you know, if they accepted that, then they would make them their slaves. So yeah, you know, it's pretty messed up. People deserve to be, you know, people don't deserve to be told that they're worthless just because they were born into this world. That's like that's the most destructive thing that I ever heard. You know, is that you were born into sin, so you're worthless. Basically, that's really super destructive and super. You know, that's not true either. I mean, for example, in my case, I was born with a disability. I was born blind, well, visually impaired, and and so, you know, some pastors in my church, or, you know, priests or whatever, would actually say, they would actually tell me this. They would basically say, because you were born blind, you were born into like that was due to your parents' sin. And because you're born blind, you are not only a sinner, but you're worse than all the other sinners. And it's just it like really fucked with me for a long time. Um, so so yeah, do I do I accept Christianity? Do not at all, not whatsoever. Um, really destructive, and it's really you know, hurtful. Like, nobody wants to nobody wants to be told that they're, that they, there's that they're evil just because they were born with a disability. That's like, what the hell? That's that's actually one of the things that I'm working with my therapist about, is overcoming all that negative self-talk and that the shit that we tell ourselves and stuff. It's just awful because we learned that crap from religion. So, I mean, it's just yeah, I can't tell you how destructive religion is. It's incredibly destructive. So, any other questions or anything like that? I see. So, yeah. Anyway, I really, don't like talking about Christianity. It's, it's, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, it's not that I don't get it. It's just that it's so destructive. It's really screwed me up in a big way. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's kind of, it's, I don't know, I don't know how people don't see how destructive it is, because it's super destructive. Let's see. Let's see here. He says, what do you do, or positive, we have a question from Positive Hopeful. He says, what do you do to take away anger from your life? That's a good question. That's a really good question, because I've been one to suppress my anger and to, say, hey, everything's okay. I've been one of those people who kind of pretends like everything's okay and I'm not angry and stuff like that. I guess, and hey, I'm still human. I'm still, I still struggle with anger and stuff like that too. The biggest thing that I could say is, so anger is well, if I had to talk about anger, anger is a transitory emotion. So, for example, someone cuts you off, you're like, hey, what the fuck? You're like, you get angry at them, right? And that's like a flash to, basically, anger is there to get your nervous system so hyped up and so, like, agitated that you're fighting for your own preservation, you're fighting for your own survival, your own, it's like an instinct to protect yourself, right? So, and that's healthy anger. That's good anger. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all trying to, protect ourselves and to make sure that we're okay. And, if somebody's, if somebody's cutting us off, if somebody's, rear-ending us, or like riding our ass, basically, then the anger is justified, right? So, so how I would approach this is, in doing the 5 elements, anger is associated with fire. So, you know, we can have um, a perfect fire, like a bonfire, that, you know, will keep us warm and keep us safe and all that. But if it gets out of control, it can burn the whole forest down, right? So we can use fire to cook, or we can use fire to be very destructive and harmful, right? So it's all about we don't want to act out on our anger. We don't want to act out on our anger. We want to instead figure out a way that's, you know, that's constructive and that's beneficial to express our anger. You know, we can express. So basically, we're learning how to express our anger in a healthy way would be a great skill to learn. So, for example, you know, your spouse tells you, tells you something really destructive and really mean and whatever. For example, you know, your spouse tells you something really mean, like a insult or something really just rude and crude and mean, and you know, you can respond to that. You know, it'll make you very angry, and so you can respond to that. You know, there's two ways to respond to that. One is, hey, fuck you, you know, go fuck yourself and all that. And you know, you can tell them off and all that, right? You can do that, or you can say you know, what you hey what you just said made me really angry at you. And so it's our natural instinct to go with the first one, right? To tell them off and to yell at them and scream at them, because we're trying to protect ourselves, right? That's a natural instinct of, you know, to protect ourselves. And people, you know, the initial thought is that people won't care if we are expressing our honest feelings to them. You know, they only respond to our, you know, to yelling at them and whatever. But I found that if you're in a healthy relationship, or if you're in, you know, dealing with people in a healthy way, if they honestly do care about you, but it was just kind of something that happened, that they might not, you know, because we all say stuff in our you know, unawareness. We all say stuff that we don't mean and things like that. And so if that happened, you could yell at them, or you could say, hey, that really hurt my feelings. That was really destructive, and that was really mean for you to say that, you know. And I'm really pissed at you. I'm really angry with you right now. And so if they're actually, you know, if they're a true friend, or, you know, someone who really cares for you, then in the moment they might seem a little bit, you know, not caring about that. You know, they might brush you off. But, you know, if they care about you, they'll come around and say, you know, hey, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry that I said things that hurt you, and things like that. So as far as, so that's when you know, you begin to heal, when you become honest with your feelings, and interact with each other, with others in a constructive way, you know. So, but as I was saying, anger is a transitory emotion. So we have, you know, So it goes, we have resentment, and then anger, sadness, and then discernment, and then trust. So in the 5-element wheel, basically. So so anger is, one of those transitory emotions where you get into a rage and something triggers you, you become super angry, and you yell at people, you flip them off, you you do all this stuff, you get all, your nervous system gets all anxious, all tense, and so anger is supposed to be, you're supposed to be like, it's supposed to calm down after a while. You're not supposed to be living in a persistent state of anger. You're supposed to basically process that anger. So when you process that anger, then it comes to sadness. It comes down to in the 5 elements we have resentment, which is wood. So we have resentment is wood, and this can be like it can be a long-term resentment or whatever, but then it turns to, so when you're carrying around this resentment, I should have said this to this person, or it's like in you, but it's trapped. It's like this, like I would say it's like something that it's an emotion that's grown out of control, basically. And then we turn that, so when we're processing our emotions, when we're processing our resentments, that turns into anger. When we realize, when we, take a minute and say, yeah, that person made me really angry. And, I've been living with this for years. I've been feeling this way for years, but now I'm going to allow myself to really feel that anger. So we have to allow ourselves to feel that anger, and then but not act on it. That's the key thing. So we can do things like, we can do things like scribble on paper to let the anger out. We can punch, punching bags. We can go to the gym, go lift heavy weights, We can do a bunch of physical activities. Sports are a great way. Art, journaling, writing. Say, like, writing a letter, an angry letter to the person who really made you angry, and then just, like, printing it out, or, writing it by hand and then just tearing it all up. That's a great way to release the anger. Different things like that. So we have there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. My therapist actually recommended that I use, she was talking about different ways to diffuse anger. And she was saying, get like a mallet and get some plasticine clay. And you can smash the mallet on the clay, and it'll go, it'll become flat. And so she was like, you can do that over and over and over again. And yeah, so I mean, so there's a lot of different ways to dispel anger, to process it. And so sometimes you just feel like punching something. You just feel like beating the crap out of someone, getting into a physical fight or whatever. Right? And we all have that, and that's all, that's natural and normal. But there's healthy ways to do that. You can punch a punching bag instead of punching someone in the face. So yeah, there's different like good ways to do that. So yeah, it's it's just one of those things. So let me see here. So yeah, just basically how to take away anger from your life is coming up with positive, constructive ways to let that anger out. People talk about sexual transmutation. Instead of the act of having sex or doing it, by yourself, you put that sexual energy into like your business or your work or your studies or whatever, and do it that way. So there's that. The same thing with anger. Instead of like punching someone in the face, you could punch a punching bag or go work out or do something, go for a jog, go for a run, go swimming, do something with that energy so that it's not, sitting in your body. Some people just they have to express their anger. They can't just like think about it. They have to do something about it. So doing something constructive with that will help you. Let me see here. Question. Positive, hopeful question. How do you deal with repressed feelings of discontent and sadness? Damn. That's a really good question. And I really appreciate you asking such good questions. That's awesome. Let's see. How do you deal with repressed feelings of discontent and sadness? Yeah. Most of my life has been that. Most of my life I've felt like, fuck, I'm never gonna get where I want to get in life. So what's the point in trying, kind of thing. And I totally understand those feelings. And yeah, thank you for going with the format with the question there. I appreciate that. Just like on Mahadeva's channel. Let's see. How do we deal with things? Yeah, so it's a really hard thing too, because nobody wants to feel sad. We all want to feel happy and joyful and positive and hopeful, right? Positive, hopeful. So yeah, so it's one of those things where we just yeah, it's so if you're having feelings of repressed sadness and discontent, it makes me want to ask you questions about about what the sadness is about and what the discontent is about. Are you not happy in your life? Are you not, and trust me, I've been there. I'm currently in a situation where I can't go do what I want to do, just financially it's impossible for me right now. So but yeah, sadness and discontent, not sadness is it's hard to acknowledge, I would say. People in our society nowadays, they don't want to see your emotions. They don't want to acknowledge your emotions. That's because they don't want to see or acknowledge their own emotions. And so, I would say, there's nothing wrong with having your emotions. Your emotions won't hurt you. You will be okay through your emotions. One of the things that I like to do is to talk to myself like I'm a child, like I'm a little, 3-year-old boy, 4-year-old boy. And, I basically coddle myself, act like there's like I'm sitting with the younger version of myself, and just kind of swaddling myself and giving myself the love that I need at the moment, and really I've found that so helpful to kind of disconnect, because we need that. We need that, as adults, we pretend like we have everything together. There's nothing wrong with us. We don't have any bad feelings. We're okay. We're fine. But really deep inside, we're hurting, and we are sad, and we are, discontent. And so it's important to, understand that there's a child within us. All of our psychology and psychological issues and things like that are a result of our inner child not getting what it needs, not getting what he or she needs. So, how to deal with repressed feelings of discontent and sadness. Love yourself through that, so, and really, it's important to take time out of your day to ask yourself how you're feeling, to ask yourself, hey, how are we feeling? Because it's been especially true in my case, where I'm like, I don't take the time out to ask myself how I'm feeling, to even recognize how I'm feeling, or anything like that. So it's important to do that, and this is what my emotional awareness course is all about. You can find my emotional awareness course on my Patreon, patreon.com/GabbaTheShaman. You can try it out for a month. It's like $15. I try to make this stuff super affordable for you guys. But yeah, it's like $15, and you can try it out for a month, and if you don't like it, if you hate it, unsubscribe. But yeah, I make this available for you guys. So in my, this is what my support groups are all about too, is helping you guys to, to be more in connection and more in touch with your emotions and things. So how to deal with repressed feelings of discontent and sadness. Basically, number one would be to acknowledge your feelings. Just take a minute, process what you're feeling. Ask yourself, how am I feeling today? What's going on with me? And so that way we do understand what we're feeling. And it might be helpful to use like a color chart or a color wheel, or what am I saying? An emotion chart, an emotion wheel, where it has emotions in different colors, and it has different categories and subcategories and stuff. but basically, just the thing is to, love yourself, um, if they're repressed feelings, then that means that you are trying to push them away. You're trying to like shove the genie back into the bottle, And so, but the thing is to not repress them. Just know that you will be okay having any kind of feelings that you want, having any feelings that you have. Give me a second here. Let me read your questions. My question was based on a spiritual egregore from so I'm not sure what that means. Let me see here. You're always happy and joy. Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that. But yeah, basically what you would do for, for dealing with your sadness and stuff like that, I would say, have that feeling, have your feelings, like just, a lot of people want to repress their feelings because they don't want to feel them. Let's see. Oh, okay. So, yeah, a lot of people repress their feelings because they don't want to feel them. And so, just I would say just acknowledging your feelings, repressed feelings are the root of all disease, all suffering and things like that. Repressed feelings are the root of disease and stuff. So so I would say so basically what we have to do is we have to find a safe way to process our feelings. We have to find a safe way to acknowledge our feelings and to process them. So I would say find a way, there, like the whole split of the inner child versus the parent, that you and your inner child, I would say comforting your inner child, that's a great way to do it. I would say also that things like journaling, things like that, things like like whenever you're feeling super sad, super depressed, super what did you say, discontent, whenever you're feeling that, find a way to nurture yourself through that. Find a way to love yourself through that. So whether maybe it's getting like a scented candle to enjoy and just crying it out. I did this the other day where I just I just lit a scented candle and said, okay, I'm going to be with myself right now. This is a moment of pain. This is a moment of emotional pain, and I'm here with myself, and it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. It's okay to, to have any feelings that you have. And the more that you process your feelings, the more that you become okay with them, and that takes a long time to do, is to become okay with your feelings. Even the most scary ones, the most horrifying ones, it takes a long time to be okay with those. And so, just, acknowledging yourself as someone who deserves your own love, that's important, and what I do is, when I'm basically comforting myself, I'll imagine like a little version of myself sitting on my chest, and just like, patting it, loving it, showing it some love, some nurturing, and then, eventually it'll say, I'm okay, and then, I'll say, basically tell it, like, I'll basically tell it the things that it needed to hear when it was in childhood, like, I love you unconditionally, I love you no matter what, and no matter, nothing you could do could ever make me stop loving you, things like that. And so it's our responsibility to make ourselves feel loved when we're in that painful state. And yeah, I mean, everybody has their own experience of their emotions, and everybody experiences their emotions in their own way. So it's so everybody's different in that sense. But yeah, everybody's different in that sense, but and we all have to like find our own coping skills and our own strategies for dealing with our emotions. But it, like, once, like, there's nothing like the feeling of, feeling more empowered, feeling better about yourself on the other end of your emotions. Than, there's nothing better than that. And so that's what I strive to do. I strive to, anytime that I'm having a rough emotion, I love myself through that. I love myself, and I tell myself that I love myself, and I do things for myself. Whether it's taking a bubble bath, or taking a shower, putting on nice cologne, dressing nice, things like that. I mean, we can all do different things to show ourselves that we love ourselves. So that's what I do. I make it a point to make myself feel loved. And so when I do that properly and effectively, I will come out of my emotions. I will come out on the other end of my emotions feeling more empowered and more loved and more empowered to take the action that I need to take, to do the things that I need to do, to step, to become closer with my soul. So yeah, it's just kind of frustrating because most of us were not programmed by our parents. We were not taught by our parents to, how to love ourselves, how to care for ourselves, through the difficulty of our emotions. And so this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to be your teacher, your your mother, for a lack of a better term, basically. To teach you guys how to love yourself through your emotions. And it's I've learned so much in this past year about how to love myself through my emotions, and I'm not perfect in any way. I'm just doing my best, and I hope that anything that I have to teach you guys will will inspire you to do your best, and to find ways of helping you and empowering you to live the life that you want to live, and to be okay with your emotions, to be that my teacher always says, hold on. My teacher always says, having, enlightenment is just having your thoughts, having your feelings, having your emotions, having your impulses, drives, desires, all your psychological stuff, experiencing that, and having the presence of mind to take constructive action despite your most negative feelings, despite your most negative thoughts, negative self-talk, having the presence of mind to take constructive action. So so this is what this is all about. It's finding ways to take constructive action. So I know when I'm feeling super depressed, anytime that I'm feeling super depressed, I just go do this stuff. I go do the Qigong, I go do the Kundalini yoga. I do that, and it basically fills me with energy so that I can become more empowered with my emotions. Because here's how that works. Energy, or emotions, are just energy. So anytime we're trying to anytime that we're trying to repress our emotions, anytime that we're trying to separate from our emotions, push them away, repress them, anytime that we're trying to bottle them up, we're basically taking the energy, our own energy, and we are basically containing that. We're trying to contain that, and we're trying to, squeeze that into, you know, trying to bottle that up. And so our emotions are powerful, because they are energy. So by doing the energy work that I teach here, we can learn to allow ourselves to flow with that energy, to flow with it, and learn that it's actually there to empower us, to help us, to my therapist even says, your emotions are there to help you. They're basically a signal to they're basically a signal that something is wrong, that something needs your attention. And so when we have sadness, we need to become aware that there's something within us that we're not happy about. There's something in us that we are, that we're having a difficult time with. So it's okay to, it's okay to have that experience, that energy of sadness, that it's okay to have that sadness, and the sadness is there to teach you a lesson. It's there to show you, hey, we're not exactly happy with say you're staying inside all day. Say you're not, let's say you're not going outside, and you're not experiencing the outside world. You're just stuck at home all day, which some of us have done that with COVID. The sadness is there to say, hey, I'm not okay with, staying inside. I need to go outside. And so when we have that, it's okay to acknowledge that. It's good to acknowledge that and say, oh, what am I feeling sad about? Oh, that's because I haven't went outside all week. And then you say, oh, okay, that's what I'm sad about. So I'll now go outside and take a walk, and maybe go to the gym, something like that. So the emotions are there to teach us a lesson, to tell us that they're there to signal to us something that we need to be doing. So yeah, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with us having our emotions. It's just most people don't know how to do that, and like, I don't know, in the West we have this idea that there's something wrong with being emotional or expressing your emotions or things like that. No, there's something wrong with expressing them in a toxic way, in an unhelpful or destructive way, yelling at people, beating people up, things like that. That's not good. But just emotions, having emotions, that's just a normal part of being human. And so, that's just a normal part of being human, and there's nothing wrong with expressing your emotions, there's nothing wrong with being, feeling a certain way. It's like my teacher, Mahadeva. He says, that he'll marry a girl who can talk about her emotions without acting out on them. Someone who can say, hey, I'm murderously murderously rageful at you, and just having the ability to say that, to communicate that, without going into screaming and yelling and shouting and being violent and all this stuff. So because there's a difference, you can have that the emotion of being murderously rageful at somebody without taking action on that. You can have that feeling, and and if you express that to somebody who really cares about you, they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I made you feel that way. I didn't intend that at all." And so that's but in in society we have to say, "Hey, F you," whenever people do something that makes us feel angry or whatever. We tell them off, we yell at them, cuss at them, scream at them, but really, and that's just a measure to protect ourselves. But really, if we are, and that's actually acting out on the emotion to protect ourselves. But if we were, if we're in a safe environment where we can be honest with people, then we can say, "Hey, you really pissed me off. You really made me angry. You really hurt my feelings, made me feel sad, and whatever." And we can come to them honestly with our feelings and say, here's how you made me feel. But it's because we don't live in and that's the difference between being healthy and unhealthy. In an unhealthy society, we have to protect ourselves. In a healthy society, ideally we could just say, "Hey, that made me really sad when you said that. That made me feel uncomfortable when you said that. That made me rageful when you said that." And so most of us are not trained with the presence of mind to actually go into our feelings and see what we're actually feeling. Instead, we don't go into our feelings. We just react. So someone says something, and then the automatic reaction is, yeah. So positive, hopeful. I'm not really sure how to answer your question here. You have that I'm not sure how to answer that. That sounds like a lot of stuff. So, that sounds like, a lot of reading for me to do. Let's see, I'll read your question again and see if I have any thoughts about it. How's that? Positive Hopeful says, "My question is based on a spiritual egregore from the Warhammer 40k fictional universe, where a chaos god, Nurgle, attracts depressed people, and they embrace physical entropy in exchange for immortality." Interesting. They embrace physical entropy. That sounds like a lot of thinking. That sounds like a lot, nothing wrong with your question, but I'm not sure how to answer that. So then the question is how to deal with repressed feelings and discontent. I'm not sure. So, yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that question, or you know, because at this point it's just like a, you know, I guess you're giving me an example or something like that, where it's, I'm not sure how to answer that, honestly. And of course we have the dog, yeah, whining in the background, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it here, guys. Let me see. I'm gonna continue to read a Positive Hopeful's question. Nurgle gives his followers physical diseases, and they rot eternally. But he takes away their pain, and they are always happy and jolly. Yeah, physical entropy and rotting in exchange for relief from pain. So that sounds like opioids. That sounds like a, you know, like a heroin kind of thing, where you're physically rotting, but, you know, it feels so good, so, you know. You know, people will do anything to escape their pain, and that's a good point, you know. Give me a second, I'm gonna get my dog and I'll be right back, guys. Alrighty, so, Marley, go to bed. Go to bed. Alright, so, yeah, you know, you make a good point. Yeah, physical entropy, rotting in exchange for relief of pain. Yeah, and, you know, people will do anything to relieve their pain. People will do, yeah, like a plague zombie, yeah. And then he says, we're between Greek gods and the dragon, serpent entities, yeah. So, yeah, I mean that's a great example of kind of people want to, you know, this is the thing, guys. People, you know, emotions are painful. Let's just acknowledge that right away. They can be very painful. And so when we don't have the coping mechanisms to you know, to be okay with them, when we don't have the coping mechanisms to be okay with them, then we turn to unhelpful coping mechanisms. So, for example, people will turn to alcohol. They'll, you know, they'll drink all day. They'll, you know, become alcoholics because they can't stand the pain of their emotion. They're, you know, alcoholics are super resentful. Resentment resides in the liver, and what do alcoholics often die of is liver cirrhosis, you know. They're super resentful, and they can't handle the pain of processing their emotions, so they you know, use alcohol to drown those emotions, to bottle them up and stuff like that. And this is the root of all disease. The root of 99.9% of diseases is you bottling up your emotions. You know, it's really sad because, you know, most people, unfortunately, were not taught how to cope with their emotions. So they do, you know, they do alcohol, they do drugs, they smoke cigarettes, they, you know, do all kinds of destructive things, you know, having, random sex with people, being addicted to sex, and just anything to kind of give them a physical sensation and to avoid their pain, basically. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry. Shut up. Alright, so some people are here, which... Alright, so... So yeah, so basically it's all about, handling your pain. So, I just gave you some coping skills a little while ago to kind of make it better. But yeah, this is why people use drugs and alcohol and all this shit to avoid their pain. So, yeah. Anything else I could say? Not really. But yeah, I have the emotional awareness course, so that course is basically designed so that you can, take a look at your emotions on a daily basis, and, when you're having good days, take a look at your emotions. Say, I'm happy, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling positive, I'm feeling joyful, whatever. And you can, write and journal about that. But then on your rough days, on your worst days, then you can also look at those and say, hey, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling lonely, blah, blah, blah. And you can, take a look at those emotions too and realize, hey, this is just, it's all a part of being human. It's all a part of, of living in this 3D reality, So, yeah, so, so it's all about, acknowledging your emotions and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, so I'm gonna end it here. I have the, if you guys didn't know, I have the energy work courses right here. I have my support groups that I do. So if you want to get in touch with your emotions, then you can go join my support group at patreon.com/GilbertTheShaman. I do career coaching, I do life coaching, I do distance energy healing. I'm a Vedic astrologer. I do Vedic astrology readings, and you can find all of my links at linktree/GilbertTheShaman. I have my main site is patreon.com/GilbertTheShaman, and then you can also look for my different things that I have in addition to that at linktree/GilbertTheShaman. I'm on all kinds of social media now. I'm on Minds.com, I'm on Getter, I'm on Gab, I think. I'm on, Minds, and so I'm on a bunch of social media platforms. I'm on Twitter, Facebook. You can link with me there. Yeah, so it's, it's been a day, guys. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and we will talk to you next time. Any last questions before we go? I'll give you guys a couple, 10 seconds. Okay. That's good. I'm gonna go ahead and take off now. Positive Hopeful says, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining me. It's good to have somebody to talk to. Because usually when I do these, I'm just talking to the air. So yeah, it's good to have someone to interact with and stuff. So yeah, thanks. So yeah, I guess that does it for me, guys. So until next time, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you later. Peace.